you may leave so right now, or you may leave at any time that you feel that you want to join another meeting, but we are recording this. We also would like you to know that we'll be doing question and answer during this session. So there's a couple of ways you can raise your hand to ask a question. You can, if you're on a phone, you can press *9. If you're on a computer, you can press Alt-Y or Command-Shift-Y. Or if you go into your Zoom application on the computer, you can look under More and it can raise a hand. We will also be monitoring the chat box, so you could put your question in the chat box and we would cover it at question and answers, okay? So I would like to take the opportunity to introduce Treva Olivero to you guys. She is a wonderful teacher. She's a teacher of blind students. She's the president of the Northern Central Chapter of the NFB of Louisiana. I've had the opportunity of working with her, and she is wonderful in her technology. She has helped many, many students advance in their technology skills. So Treva, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Casey. I'm hoping everyone can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Excellent. This workshop, this session is actually, I believe, for anyone. It's going to be geared toward blind students, but I know that I've talked to a lot of sighted people who value the important skill of typing, and it is an essential skill. So why are we saying that typing is an essential skill? Well, it's a job skill. Everyone needs to know how to type. It's just something that everyone needs to do. I mean, it's especially if we're not thinking about our future for our kids, it's at work, it's a school skill as well. Sighted kids, blind kids, everyone needs to know how to type. I'm going to talk about why this is so important, and then I'm going to talk about some typing programs that are really great, and some that, you know, maybe I don't like as much, but they're out there and they're available. So I plan to talk about all those things. And then if you have any questions, please let us know. I'll be happy to answer any questions I can. So obviously this is important for all people, is to know how to type. I personally am not a speed demon. I'll just be honest at typing. I was reading online where there are people that can type over 200 words a minute. That's not me, but I do believe typing is important. It's still important no matter how fast, but typing helps you become more efficient. You're not hunting and pecking, and you're just typing non-visually. There are lots of different types of keyboards, but I'm not going to necessarily go into that. So for blind student, why is typing so essential? Because you might be thinking, well, you know, my child has a Braille device, which is awesome and wonderful, but the computer is something that students need to have for college and for workplace. It's the computer is the mainstream device that they're going to need to use in order to be productive. So in order to use the computer, they need to type. Even if you have a Braille display, typing is definitely essential. The typing is basically the blind person's equivalent to a mouse. That's what I tell people all the time. And the big thing is, so later this afternoon, there's a session about screen readers. And when I get students parents who are asking about my services as a technology instructor for blind children and other colleagues and teachers, they come to me and they say, well, I want to teach this blind child needs to learn a screen reader. And the first question I ask is, does the child know how to type? That's like, you have to be able to type accurately in order to make your screen reader work. It's like, it's the mouse. And so that's why this accuracy typing is so important. And that actually is what really makes it essential for everybody. I mean, Braille is definitely important. I love Braille and it has its definite uses in technology, but typing is, I believe, equally as important as Braille. Okay, and typing allows students to use mainstream devices, whether you're talking about a laptop, a desktop computer, or if you're talking about connecting a wireless keyboard to a tablet. Typing is essential. Like, for example, with a wireless keyboard and a tablet, that's not how I learned, but when I use my iPhone and I'm typing in text messages, my keyboarding skills, my orientation helps me to be able to type text messages, because at this time I don't have a Braille display. So, but that is something, that's another reason. Okay, and so what about this? So what the typing I'm talking about is touch typing, not hunt and peck. It's just putting your hands on the keys. So what kind of keyboard? It's really not, keyboard is a matter of personal preference. The important thing is all keyboards that I have seen have the F and the J. They already have built-in like indicators on the F and J. So you do not need to look at the keyboard in order to type. It's touch typing. This is for both blind and low vision children, and for sighted students. And so your keyboard does not need to have any special adaptations. It just needs to be a keyboard. Actually, I highly discourage the use of large print keycaps or stickers that you can put on your keyboard. I think that if you're talking about typing, you have to have a correct posture and you need to be sitting up straight. And if you're encouraging someone who has low vision to like look down at the keys, that's not encouraged by anybody, like sighted people or anyone. It's just something, touch typing is the more efficient way. And so marking that keyboard with those letters is something that your child does not, the children do not need, I don't think. Okay, so some things that you can do if you would like to mark some things on your keyboard. I've seen where people have marked, well, on my own personal keyboard, I have marked the F4, the F8, and the F12, so I kind of can orient a little bit. I've seen where people have marked like the number 5 on the number row. And so all you do is you take their dots. You could either use stickers, or like you could use a Braille dot or something really small just to mark your keyboard. But it is not necessary. The idea behind touch typing is just you type, learning touch. One thing to consider when you're talking about typing is whether you have a laptop or keyboard layout, and either one is fine. Blind kids can use either laptops or, well, keyboard meaning desktop, the keyboard on the desktop computer. And the typing software that I'm going to talk about, some of them are pretty good at working with laptop versus desktops, and others may not be maybe won't work as well. Another thing to consider when you're having your child learn how to type is make sure your touchpad on your mouse is either turned off, like if you have a laptop and you have a touchpad, or put like something over it, like a cardboard. Because for adults, you can tell them like lift your wrists up, but for kids, that's something that they're just learning how to type, and they do need to type. They need to lift their wrists up, and they need to have correct hand placement and posture. But turning the mouse off is absolutely the easiest way to handle that, because it prevents them from doing other things besides typing that you don't want them to do, and like moving the mouse accidentally. And so just keeping that, just remember that typing is the equivalent to a mouse. Typing can, like I said earlier, can be done on a tablet or with a wireless keyboard. That's another, I've seen that happen. And a lot of times with typing programs, the great thing about it is students can do it independently. I've talked to other teachers, and many of us agree that typing could just be homework. So during this time of like not having school in person, it's a great time to work on typing. I've got friends who have been working on typing. I have worked on just a little bit, just increasing my speed. And so then people ask me what age. I think that you can start your child on typing like very young. It could be, or your student, it could be age 3. There is a program out there that I'll mention in a little bit that gets kids started with orientation to the keyboard. If you think about this being like a mouse for sighted kids, they learn how to use a mouse very young. And so our blind kids need to learn to do typing very young as well. I recommend that kids achieve an accuracy level of 90 to 90% before they move on to the next level. And I think speed is something I try to get them to 20 words per minute before they move on. But that, to me, the accuracy is most important. And whatever typing program you use and whatever, practice. It is so important to practice. So those are my general thoughts about typing before I get into the software. Are there any questions? Okay.
Treva, I want to stop and this is Casey, and we're having a little trouble with the chat. So if anybody asks a question, if you would post at the bottom of your chat panel, if you would find Casey Robertson and send your question to me, then I can open up the question to Treva. But right now we're having a little trouble with everybody seeing the questions. So if you have a question, that's great. Treva and I want to answer those. Just find Casey Robertson and send the question to me.
Yeah, because I just wanted to let you know, I personally have not heard anything on the chat, so I'm just going to keep talking. And if you guys have any questions, just direct them at Casey. So, okay. The app that I was talking about that is for younger kids is a recent app. Well, I just learned about it recently, and I'm actually very excited about it. It's called Baliland, like ball. The characters in this app are balls, and you might have heard it in relation to iPhone apps, but this is a desktop and laptop app for your computer, and it is made by Kids, and it is $49, and it's for an individual license, and it's really kind of neat. It's for very young kids, and maybe I could see students with multiple disabilities using Baliland to help them learn how to type. It's really a neat app. It helps with orientation to the keyboard and basic keys. It doesn't necessarily help kids with finger placement. That's not really the goal of this app, But it's a really great thing, like if you want to get your kids started on learning the computer and just get them to, and it's fun. That's the whole thing about it. It's got a lot of different cool sounds. And this is just, it basically promotes keyboard awareness. And it's for ages 3 and up. And I can see that little kids would have a great, time using this. So it's for both the Windows and PC. And so what they've done is they've developed an app with different sounds, and it encourages keyboard mapping of the sounds. So for example, like the function keys make different, do like different stories and sounds, and the letters are different sounds, like animals. The punctuation is animal sounds. The letters are sounds around the house, and they're very recognizable sounds. So any key the child touches is going to make a sound. So it's kind of gets them started, and the app also gives, it's kind of neat, in their manual they give suggestions about how to use this app and how to teach different things. So I really liked that. And it uses the Baliland characters. Like if the children are used to those characters, it uses those. So that was really great. It's very fun, and it's got audio descriptions of different things. It does work. It does have keyboard commands for blind teachers that might be using the app and helping with kids. But it does, I was able to use it with JAWS running, but it suggests it's a self-voicing app. So when I'm going to use that word a lot, and self-voicing is the app has voices already in it. So if a computer has a screen reader on it, they turn off the voice on the screen reader, and the voice of the app the app is self-voicing. So I really, really liked this app. And I think if you have a younger child or a child with maybe some other disabilities and maybe isn't ready to start specifically doing typing where they need to know the exact place of the letters, but you want them to orient themselves to the keyboard, then it's absolutely a great app. My favorite app for typing for adults and kids is Typability, and it's by Yes Accessible. And I'm just being honest, this is my favorite one. It's $150 for a single user license. And the reason I like it so much is because it uses the JAWS screen reader to run. And it also is very, very easy to use. I've had kids where I get them started on the app, and they work very independently. As for the price, until August 30th, because of COVID, they have a deal where if you get the free version of JAWS, you can also get Typability for free and be able to use that. This app is well known for its jokes. It's a lot of fun. It gives great feedback for kids, like, oh, fabulous, and all kinds of craziness. It's for older kids, they kind of just roll their eyes, but I think they're still having fun with it. I've used it with older kids, and they like it as well. And it's very good at building on what you already know. Like, you don't have to, you can independently operate the app without. So it starts with teaching the function keys like F1, F2, and those are the ones that you use to operate the app. So basically, your student, and it gives you instructions like press F1 twice quickly to hear a joke, or to hear what they repeat, and it gives you instructions. And so it promotes independence. That's really one of the big things I like about it. It's got 98 lessons, and it's good about emphasizing finger placement too. It's one of the best, and it's just fun. Some of the other apps that are okay, are just not as fun as Typability. And then there's also, for teachers, there's a lot of customizable features. You can customize dictation tasks and all kinds of things. So it's a really great app. The only thing, it doesn't finish, like if the student doesn't finish the lessons, it's sometimes unclear about what happens. It also has some struggles with the laptop layout sometimes, but it does support, it has a lot of other, I think still, it has a lot of other advantages. And the one other disadvantage is it's only for the PC, is this typing app. The next app is by Accessibyte, and it's called Typio. And I have tried to get this to work. The individual user, you can get a 365-day license for $59.95. But my 2-week trial ran out, and I couldn't get it to really work as well. And so this is something I haven't investigated as much, but I like the idea that it can be used on the web. So you can use it like on a tablet or on a PC, or if you have a Mac, you can use it on that. It's got some great like audio feedback. That's part of what I liked about it, but it's also has good sounds, and it has this little feature where it has like a pet that your child can take care of. So it's got some, it's built by teachers, and it's meant for kids and to have fun with it. I really don't know as much about it, but it is another one that is out there. It has lesson practice. It has explore mode where you can just type on the keyboard, and like it'll give you feedback about what the keys are. And then it has just a typing where you can just free type, and it has dictation tasks as well. The next app is Talking Typer, and it is from APH, American Printing House. And this app is $79, but it's free with quota funds. A lot of schools get quota funds, and so they have access to APH products, and this is one of the things they have access to. The neat thing about this app is it's on the computer, but there's also a version for the tablet. There's a free beta web version, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit, and that's for this app. So this app is self-voicing. It does not work with JAWS. So you have to turn your screen reader off or not have a screen reader on your computer before you can get it to start. And the speech, you can like increase the speech that gives some instructions, but as far as like what it's telling you to type, you can't increase that speech. I wasn't able to do that anyway. It's very, very repetitive, which typability is repetitive as well, but this one is like really repetitive, and it's not super exciting, but it teaches you how to type. So that's what the basic thing about it. It's got this thing called Hurry Scurry where it teaches you to type faster because you have to type before the letters fall off the screen. But it didn't really have very good audio feedback, so I was a little disappointed in that. So to me, it wasn't as fun as like other apps that I've seen. And it does have dictation, which you can like type and just pause and start typing, and go back if you want to hear instructions again. And typability and this app, they allow you to save the lessons, and they allow the teachers to like keep track of where your student is in typing and how many words per minute they type, and which lessons they've conquered. So that's another aspect of that app. And then the next, so there's also a Typer beta, and it is on APH's website, and it is typerbeta.aphtech.org. And I actually really like this one because it's free. I mean, it is a basic app, but it's not super exciting, but it's free. And also it's not self-voicing. So you can actually use this with JAWS. It worked with Narrator. It worked with NVDA, which are all screen readers. So if it's a good app for if you already have a screen reader and you want your child to start listening to it, you just go online and go on the web and just do search for Typer Beta, and it's made by APH. And you can basically just go on there, and it's got 25 lessons, so it's not very big, but you can just work with it and start typing, and it just helps to practice. And it's really kind of neat. I just like it because it's free. And it's something that is like, if someone doesn't have access, if your school isn't purchasing a typing program and you feel like your child's ready to type, it's a good substitute. The only thing is it's hard to type. It's hard to know when you're supposed to like type the shift key, but you're in those lessons. So I would say maybe it's for I would use it with maybe older elementary students. Okay, so then the last app, and I will say I've changed my mind about this app, kind of. It's called Typing Club, and you might have heard of it. It's a lot of schools use it, and you just go to typingclub.com, and the schools have accounts, but you can also just sign up for free. And basically you set your profile up for someone who is blind or low vision, and it works with it's free, and it's used a lot with sighted students. But basically what it is an app. It was created for sighted students, but then they realized, hey, we need to make sure we make this accessible for blind and low vision students. I don't know if I would exactly call it accessible, but if you don't have any other options, this is an alternative. And I finally, for the reason I didn't like it, because I couldn't get it to work with JAWS very well. And now I use Chrome browser. It uses the web. So you use a browser, and I've used this with JAWS, and I got it to work pretty well with JAWS. I tried it with Narrator and NVDA, and it worked, but it worked best with JAWS from what I could tell. It is self-voicing, so you actually don't need a screen reader. If you have a screen reader, it just kind of helps with independence. And the point is they want you to turn your JAWS off because it's self-voicing. So it's okay. This app is okay, and I'm glad that they made it somewhat accessible to blind and low vision students, but it's not super exciting. I mean, it's like, it gives you some feedback, but outside of the self-voicing typing portion of it, I think that you have to have a screen reader in order to make it work. And the visual aspects, I don't know much about those. The nice thing is it had 684 lessons, so there was a lot of opportunity to practice. So, okay, and so that's it for the software that I covered. I think the most important thing that I just want you to know today is typing is important for blind kids, sighted kids, all kids. And so there are a lot of different options. It used to be there were only a few typing programs, but there are a lot of options. And I think there are some more out there that maybe I don't know as much about. But so Casey, do we have any questions?
Yes. Okay. So Diane has a question. Says she's a teacher for students with visual impairments, and she's teaching an 8th grader. Currently, he is using the Braille Note Touch. Do you still suggest that she teach him touch typing on a laptop?
Absolutely. And I would recommend that because his Braille Note Touch is wonderful. I have students who use that device and I love it. But in order to use be successful in college and in the workplace, that student is going to need access to mainstream apps and I think that in general, the blindness technology, Braille notes and things, those are behind. And so if the student knows how to type and knows how to use a general laptop and Microsoft Word and those programs and use a screen reader, even if the blindness technology is not updated, the screen readers, they're more likely to be updated with Windows and it's just it's like they're going to be able to use things in the mainstream environment. It's like the Braille Note is kind of like a sheltered place and it's a great place. It's easy. But in order to be successful in college, students need to be able to learn how to type and use laptops to be successful.
Okay, do we have any other questions? That was the only one that was put in the chat. And just to make sure that I told them correctly, Baliland, is it Ballylland?
That's correct.
Okay, good. So I looked it up and I made sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's one person that has a question. Let's see. Actually, I think it's our host from the NFB Center. So, okay, so while we're waiting on that one, I have another one here. When do you recommend students start to switch to typing rather than Brailling assignments? I have a daughter who is blind and in 3rd grade, but does not use a computer yet.
Well, I think they need to be comfortable with typing and it needs to be efficient. So I guess I would say you've got to think about it. First, the prerequisite skill is typing, but then after that, they need to learn screen readers like a JAWS. So I guess I would say a student should start submitting assignments when they're comfortable with typing, when they're comfortable with using a screen reader, and then when they're comfortable using Word. And depending on what the assignment is, the basic Word features would be able to, that would be fine, but they need to be able to open up a document, save it, edit it. And so typing, they definitely learn where the letter placement is and stuff, but then you've got to also learn the screen reader part of it and how to navigate in a Word document.
Okay, Treva, we have a follow-up question, and I think you've already answered this one, but just to make sure, we have Brittany ask, when is it best to start teaching typing to students?
As young as possible. With the Baliland app, they could be 3 or up. And I just think that if a student can, obviously they still are not finished developing with their motor skills, but even if they can get some keyboard awareness and they don't know exactly how to do finger placement, it's just good to start as young as possible. I have seen students start as old as like 6th, 7th, 8th grade and still be successful with typing. So even if you have an older child, you're like, I didn't start them soon enough. That's okay. Just get started now.
Okay, and I think it's safe to say, Treva, isn't it, that we start sighted kids with typing in 1st and 2nd grade? They start to learn the keyboard and computer awareness. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, absolutely. Sometimes even kindergarten. So definitely. So yeah, whenever sighted kids start it, your child should be typing as well.
Okay, so we have another question. Would this confuse students that are still learning the Braille code?
I don't think so. Casey, you might have input on that, but in my opinion, no.
No, I teach both of, when I teach students, I teach both because it's two different skills and they can clearly distinguish between the Braille code and when you're going to the computer to type. So I think it's two separate skills enough that it doesn't confuse them. And they're equally excited about both. And lots of times you can get them more excited about Braille if you say, okay, after we learn these Braille letters, we're going to go learn those letters on the computer.
Absolutely. And I think if you just don't make a big deal out of that they're learning both, I think it's like, it just makes it better. And you're just like, oh, okay. And they have a lot of enthusiasm for typing and computers. Kids do.
Okay, do we have any more questions? These are really great questions. You guys are, you're doing wonderful with the questions.
Absolutely.
Okay, Treva, I think there's no more questions for now. Our next session will be going back to the plenary session for part 2, and the Zoom meeting for that will be 471-527-4444. Let me do that again because I kind of messed up when I started reading it. 471-527-4444. Now, if you're going over to the other session, they actually have a session in that meeting room that will not end until 2:45 because we're finishing up about 5 minutes early. So you might want to take a break to stand up, stretch, get something to drink, move around for a few minutes, and then log in for the next meeting at 2:45, okay? Thank you so much for everyone that joined, and thank you for the questions. And thank you, Treva, for talking with us today, and thank you for our NFB host that has helped us keep this meeting going. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.